Welcome,
Yeah,
episode 4. Today we're going to talk about some new features that we've been building, we've been working on a long time in the works, and we're going to dive into it. What we did,
definitely.
why we did it, how
Yeah,
we did it, what's coming next.
right.
Let's go.
Let's do it. So, GMR, this is what this is all about. But before we dive into the technical side and why we build and all these things, let's talk about the problem, the biggest issue of all, right? When it comes specifically for valuation, a lot of car dealers suffering from being able to value their vehicles at the price point where it allows the sale to happen is on a fast pace. And I think that a lot of dealers end up, let's say, for example, buying vehicle at a certain price point, and they have to work it backwards in a way, if that makes sense. So let's say the car they bought, they end up spending 10 grand on it, for example. They're gonna see, okay, how much money can I make on this vehicle? So, and usually what they're gonna do, they gonna guess. Sometimes, in many cases, they're gonna guess because they have the feeling of the market, because that's all they do. They're focusing on the buying, over and over again, in which in their own heads they have the book. They know what this car goes for, give and take, and they're gonna end up buying it and then trying to work it, like I said earlier, in a kind of a reverse way. So they're gonna go into CarGurus, they're gonna go into Cars.com, Auto Trader, all the third parties that we mentioned before many times, and they're gonna try to see what they are competing against in at this moment of time. I think that's an issue as a whole, right? Because you go into the dark not knowing right off the bat what the car is actually going for in the market, and a lot of dealers goes, besides that, based on MMR. They're basing their baseline pricing on MMR, which in many cases, sure, I mean, it's if you bought good in comparison to what is in MMR, you probably, I will say, you probably did good in terms of the buying part, but you're not in the mission of just buying, you're in the mission of selling, right? So the buying is definitely the most important part of the selling, but it's not the only one. And sometimes MMR too, I must mention, is off, in many cases, especially for those cars that are unique. They're special units. They have certain packages and stuff like that, which you have to kind of dive deep into the trim and understand what you're having in front of you. So to the extent where you understand, what this is going to go for, and so on and so on. So that's an issue. The main issue is that people don't know how to where they're standing, or how to buy right. That's the acquisition part of it. So yeah,
But wait, all the cars that are on the lot that are already bought, they're done, they're paid for.
yeah, sure,
And even if you do buy right, and even if you do follow MMR, I mean, we have dealers telling us that they're getting more on their units on MMR than they're getting retail.
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, yeah. So they're getting more at auction than they're able to get at retail. They're getting more on OVE.
Yeah,
I talked to Sonny last week, and he's like, "Hey, I got this. It was a 2024. It was a 2024 Range Rover Sport."
there are
But
certain units for sure, but there is a reason for that, right? Like, let's not avoid the reason. The reason is because there are some dealers out there who have customers specifically for those units. And yeah, sure, the auctions became a very good centralized place to go to, and to buy cars at pretty quick. And there are some inventory that sits in the auction that is not sitting in the private party market. So that kind of um, make it very accessible and all those things. But those are like for the specific, I will say, units, not for every car, I will say. But again, car dealers don't really end up buying and selling into auction only. That's kind of rare, I will say. I think that not super rare, sure, but rare enough to say that this is not their routine. Their routine is to buy from the auction in most cases and sell on the street. you know?
Right. So let's talk about this specific price tool, which takes into consideration real market value. And even if we can't control what you've bought and how you bought it, it's already bought. You can't go back in time. You can't change it. And just because you bought it, whether it's 30 days ago or 45 days ago or 90 days ago, that price changes and fluctuates through time. And what you priced it at 2 weeks ago might be fine, but might not be fine because maybe somebody came out in the market and has got 10K miles less with the same year, make, model trim. And, he's above you. So there's this ranking system that deals with what. Do you want to share a screen?
Yeah, I
so we can
think
look
we're
at
going
it?
too fast. I think we're going way too fast into it.
Yeah, but we're going into acquisition. We're not really bringing the acquisition tools into this at this point in time.
Yes, sure, but I would like to paint the entire routine of a car dealer in a sense, and then we're going to end up eventually at that point where we're expressing the need for this tool and how important that is, because that will create a phasing, a certain understanding where we do come out with those features on the app, if that makes sense, for acquisition as well, which will be very soon as we launch the app. But that's the bottom line. Is this entire episode is about valuations, either where you buying as well as when you're selling. And I'm going to tell you why, because you see that one, I'll say, I don't know if it's a sensor that is built into each one of those car dealers. When I was a car dealer, for example, I was kind of aware of the market and where those cars are kind of marked in terms of price, and that helped me to make a very quick, sharp decisions. That wasn't basing I wasn't basing my decisions based on a feel. It was based on a lot of research and time that I took as a car dealer to understand what is out there in the market. And um, again, where's those price points? What is it a good buy? What is a bad buy? And so on and so on. And I think being exposed to the market, what is out there, in a way, helps you in many ways buying good too, So it's really important that we elaborate on that part too, because it helps the dealer understanding that there is a much more quick ways to look into the market, kind of like a snapshot of that trim, and be able to understand the price point and where is this trim is sitting at in terms of pricing in his own market as a car dealer, right? So that's really, really important. That's why I started with acquisition, because even though we do not do acquisition yet, we don't do tools or support that part of the routine that a car dealer will end up doing anyway. It is still gonna, the GMR that we are currently having the systems will help a lot to the car dealer to understand the market, understand the price points of where the car is actually standing or positioning, I will say, so they can have a better feel of the market, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's very important to talk
so
about.
essentially it's a pricing strategy game, and there's a pricing strategy that's going to take into consideration what's out there in the market, where this applies, and it's not just price, it's also how long the cars have been sitting, how far
That's right.
they are away from you. And
Yes.
because the market is ever changing, you book a car when you buy it, that book price is going to change in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 45 days, in 60 days, in 90 days. And a big part of that change is also going to be who comes into the market with similar or the same vehicle. It's kind of like a neighborhood in real estate. You have comps. If the neighbor sells their house at $100K less, your house is automatically worth a little bit less if it's undervalued, just as an example. So,
yes.
But this is also a full-time job, and it feels like a full-time job having to, who's got the time to monitor prices every single day?
Well, it's not the question of if it's a full-time job. It's a question of what do they currently do versus what they should be doing, right? So
it's
not they're all doing it.
It's not, well, no, it's not possible to, if you've got 40 cars, each one of those 40 cars in, let's say, a 500-mile radius car. Now, I'm not talking about, rare cars. They're going to have a competitive set of other dealers who are competing against you on that year, make, model, trim, mileage, price, whatever else. There's a price change happening every single day somewhere. Somewhere.
You mean, yeah, somewhere, yeah, for sure. Absolutely,
Absolutely.
yes. Yeah.
Every
Or
single day.
maybe some of those units are getting sold. That can defluctuate and can change the entire equation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So looking at price is kind of like, oh, it's the last thing I want to do because I have to drop price, which means lose money. But
But I think you fasting forward, you're going too fast. I think I'm explaining. So we need to talk first about like the main thing, which is like, okay, what actually happened in a routine of a car dealer? You're acquiring a car, you buy it, usually with the feel of the market, because he knows where this trim is sitting at, like I said earlier. And then the next step is going to probably sit on the computer. In most cases, if he doesn't have the V Auto or anything similar to V Auto, which costs probably like $1,500, $2,000 to a starting point, is going to end up going to CarGurus, Cars.com, Motor Trader, Craigslist, so on and so on, Offer App, Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, so on and so on, just to figure where this car is actually positioning. Because to get an actual more recent feel of what is out there right now in this second in comparison to that unit that he's having. And then what he's usually doing is going to price the vehicle based on what is out there. And that's a routine of almost every car dealer daily when they're receiving a new unit. That's kind of like the first thing they're doing, right? But what happened the next day? That's what you try to refer to. And now we can talk about it, because what happened the second day after you price the vehicle and there are changes in the market, right? What happened?
what happens on day 2 after you've bought your car, after you've published it online to sell?
After you decided what will be the price that you would like to sell it for.
Yeah, we're talking about day 2 and ongoing scenarios.
That's right.
Everything else is a one-off, one-time scenario, which means
right.
you bought the car, you paid for it, you listed it, and you set a price. Great,
Yes.
it's out. Chances are, unless you're really keeping your eye on the ball and on the market, sure. Let's say your day one price is accurate. Let's say it's spot on. How would the customer see it? So let's say you're ranked top 5, top 10 in your area, depending on your make, model, trim, depending on your area. That's great. But in a week from now, where are you? Because these are the things that create.
Not in a week. I will say in a day from now, because like you said, it changes every day.
Changes every day.
These numbers are changing every day, and they fluctuate super quick, because the ones that do AV Auto have the advantage to be able to see you, to see where you market
Yes.
your price, and that gives them an advantage in which that's where you're getting hurt from the most. And so
Right.
we have done what we encourage dealers in the past in many occasions to look at the market more often, as much as they can. But unfortunately, when you have 40 or 50 cars in the lot, it's just impossible to do it on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And that's an issue. That's a big issue that is happening every day for every car dealer. And the main reason is because they're just not aware of what's going on in the market.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah. So it's basically price positioning. And price positioning, like at first, let's tie something along to what you're going to show on the screens. Like first, we did the price drop notifications that I believe we talked in the other video.
Automation, yeah. Price drop automation.
Automation, yes.
Yes.
Automation?
Automation, always.
Suggestions.
Yes. Automation.
Okay.
So we developed the price drop automation as a starting point, and the idea behind the price drop automation is to consolidate all the leads that were interested in that vehicle using VIR, which is vehicle interest recognition. So either a customer talked to you via a phone or a text message or inquiry.
Can we show what that looks like? I think it's.
We don't have to. We don't have to show that. We don't have to show that. So if either one of those inquiries came your way, or again, a customer is approached to you in the sense of like, okay, I'm interested in that vehicle, or this is available, or whatever that is, we're capturing it, we're putting it into his profile, into his lead profile. So we understand very much the interest on that unit specifically, but not just from the lead perspective. Let's take it to the vehicle, to the unit perspective. So now you have on every unit X amount of leads who were interested in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that allows you and us to be able to notify every time you drop the price on that unit, all those leads that were ever interested in it, of course, in a let's say a portion of 90 days, in which again helps you to be able to get more re-engagement at no time,
Okay.
literally.
So-
Instead of trying to go one by one on your leads on your CRM, which some people do.
Let's say I got this, I don't know, 2022 BMW 740. I'm just looking
Yeah.
at a random car.
Yeah.
And it's been here 30 days. I've got 15 leads on it. And these 15 leads, I've had
Those
conversations
15
with.
leads that are marked, just to mention, they're 15 leads from the last 90 days. So they're still considered warmed in a way, meaning that they're probably still somewhere in the journey of buying a car.
But I'm saying 30 days. I'm just saying I've had the car for 30 days.
Okay.
I've had 15 leads on this car.
Got
I've had
you.
15
Okay.
conversations on this specific vehicle.
Yes.
And what we've touched on before, if you change the price today, generally when we change the price, we have to wait however long, whether it's a week for people to start seeing it on Car Gurus, on Auto Trader,
Right.
on cars.com. So
Right.
this gives us the ability to say, hey, I'm going to send a text message to every single one of those people that I had a conversation with regarding this specific car, because
Yes.
their lead is assigned to that unit in the CRM.
Yeah. And
they're
when you're
gonna
saying,
and they're going to get notified that there was a price reduction on that
but you're
vehicle.
saying it the wrong way in a way. You're saying it
that?
like, I will send a text message to every single one of them. I understand you're trying to explain it, but in a way, we don't really send a text message to every lead, right? What we do is we just dropping the price, and since the automation is on that unit, in that case, it will send a text message to all of them automatically. So I don't really go lead by lead and send them a text message, right? But the system does it for
Correct. So the system automatically sends a text message with
Yes.
a price reduction to every single lead.
Price drop notification. That's what we call it. Yeah.
Okay. So it was, if you had a reduction in price, let's fuck the terminology. Okay.
Well,
whether
it's
you reduce the
important
price,
because
whether you
that's what we're
drop
using on the back
price,
end.
whether you minimize the price, whether you cut the price, you're going to send a text message
Sure.
to the people that were interested. The system will send it automatically, fully, every single time.
Correct.
If you have that running. So, but the issue lies where you're still responsible for dropping that price. And you might not have the data to drop that price every single day because it's changing, correct?
Well, prior to that, you have another job, which is like understanding the price that your vehicle right now is sitting at is not suitable to make a sale, period, right? So you have a prior job first, and then the second job is to go to the vehicle, update the price, and then either be in the mercy of people checking that unit again, or go to your CRM, try to locate each one of those leads that try to contact you at some point of time, maybe try to talk to them. And a lot of dealers, what they do is they take the most recent leads, they talk to them like this week, and someone maybe try to get a better price on a unit, let's say, and try to bid on it over the phone. And the dealer might remember that and try to go after that specific guy and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to drop the price by $500 just so I can make a sale. But there are other leads in the same, scope in his CRM who has been interested in the vehicle at some point of time. It could be, again, like your scenario, last 30 days window, in which they will never be aware of it unless you have an automation.
Can we show?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can show.
Let me show it. Here, you share it. I'm going to send you a link. I just saw this, and I think it's a really, really, really good example.
Sure. So here is the actual inventory manager on our end. We can go into, for example, first of all, go into CRM. Then we go to AI just to show the automation specifically. And this automation called price drop. In here it says notification, but it's just the type of automation. So in this case, it's a notification, but it's still an automation. So what it does, it's going after the audience, which are working leads associated to available vehicles. And then when a vehicle price dropped. So obviously by the dealer. So when the dealer drops the price, automatically we do send a notification to leads who were interested in that vehicle. As we can see it right off the bat, we're talking about 50%, close to 50%, 49 in this case, 0.2, which is close to, again, 50% of engagement. That's huge. That's probably one of the highest numbers we have seen on any automation since we started these automations to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So all you need to do from a car dealer perspective is just literally turn it in your own. So if let's say it's off, that means that anytime you drop the price, it will not send notifications. But if you just turn it on, and I go, let's say, for example, now to the inventory manager, and I'm gonna go to this 2023 BMW i4. If I look at the automation part of it right there, you can see that I have 2 leads that are qualified for this vehicle because they were interested in it at some point of time. And this automation is designed to retarget car shoppers who had interest specifically in this vehicle, as I mentioned. So as long as it's on, which is like having a check on it, you're good to go. If you want to turn it off and say, you know what, I don't want to notify anybody of the price drop. So technically, if I change the price at this point, it won't do anything. But let's assume that I didn't touch it and it's on this vehicle specifically. And then at that point, I can just say, you know what, I want to drop this price by $500, so I'm going to lower it. And then technically at this point, if I save changes, those 2 leads that are sitting somewhere in my CRM will be notified that I just reduced the price. It won't tell them the price drop amount. It will just tell them that we dropped the price as a notification. And the message would look something like, let's take a look at this right here. So hi, John. Just a quick price drop alert. We just lowered the price for the whatever vehicle you were interested in. Here is the link to it. So there is a short link in there. As soon as they click it, we trace it as well, so we know how many clicks you have received. So in this case, you can see here a total amount of 266 clicks. So 266 people literally that end up going to your site because you have the price drop automation. So that's very much very big. And let's go back to the vehicle again. So let's go back into the old philosophy of, how does the automation merges with the actual GMR and what we've tried to create in here. We're still in the journey of, improving it over time. Again, with the most accurate data that is actually available, since we are scraping the entire internet. So any car dealer in the US that has a website, perhaps, and you have his inventory in there, we're gonna have their data daily. It's gonna be updated daily, so you don't have to kind of go into car gurus or cars.com. People using V Auto are suffering from a situation where a lot of this data comes from listing sites like car gurus, cars.com, and so on and so on. And what's happening there is that they're in the mercy of the speed in which car gurus, in this case, let's say, gets the inventory information and posts it on their end. So imagine that there is like probably 48 hours there, just right there. So let's say the dealer sends the inventory to car gurus, and then as soon as car gurus receives it, it takes about 48 hours approximately to get it into car gurus. And then you have to wait another I'll say another time frame, which is to have V Auto to pull it from car gurus, right? So you literally have about 72 hours, sometimes even more, in order to know of any vehicle that is actually in the market if you're using V Auto. And that's very bad. Why? Because, sometimes in those 3 days period, a vehicle can appear and can be disappeared, if that makes sense. And what we do different is we're actually scraping directly the actual car dealers' websites, in which gives us more accurate data. So as soon as a car dealer uses his inventory manager tool, whichever he's using, it most likely will hit his website immediately, in which at that point we're scraping it on a daily basis. So we have the data faster than V Auto by at least 72 hours.
So this data here is basically same day data,
Correct.
correct?
So in this case, this data just updated about 33 minutes ago, and there are 59 vehicles who are very much just like this trim, which is the i4 BMW 2023.
Okay.
So technically, all the data you see in here is a table. It's called GMR, which stands for Goxee Market Report, similar to V Auto in a sense, but this is actually active listing, which appears all over the internet. This is a public information. But again, who has the time or the power to go side by side and figure which vehicles are actually sitting on every website? And so what we've done is we scrape this entire internet, and we have the power to just literally give you updates on a daily basis, in which help you to understand where you're standing, where your vehicle is actually positioning in terms of price, in terms of aging, in terms of odometer, and so on and so on, you know? So, for example, let's take a look at this one. So, in this case, this 2023 BMW i4 positioning 34 in terms of price, okay? And if I'm going to try right off the bat to try to compare it to anything, I'm going to see that, you know, my vehicle have 50,000 mile on it. It's been only 10 days in the market. You know, another, you know, vehicle just right next to me is sitting in there, but I got lower mileage. Sure, I am asking for a couple pennies more, right? But I don't think it's a big deal. So I'm kind of positioned good. There is another car just came in a day ago, and that's like $470 below me. But again, 43,000 mile, 44 almost. And I can just keep going and trying to kind of figure out like where my position in a way. There is a vehicle right here from a BMW dealership that sits only 46 miles away from me. It's been 19 days in the market at 18,000, almost 19,000 mile odometer.
Mhm.
And the price is about a little low. I mean, below, even more than $1,000 below my price. That kind of a flagging in a way. So what I want to do is I want to click on this, in which will open the actual listing, so I can actually see the entire listing itself, which will allow me to understand the unit a little better. So I can see it's a one owner. In this case, it's certified by BMW and all those things. I can learn it, I can study it, but again, let's talk about. I'm gonna close now this, and I'm gonna figure. You know what? This is a nice unit. It's pretty clean. All these things. What am I going to do with my price based on my position in all this? I can keep going in this table and try to analyze it. I can spend the whole day literally analyzing one single unit. So imagine what's happening to people who goes on CarGurus and Cars.com and all those other third parties that are going to end up like literally wasting their entire day on one single unit just to price it right, you know? And that's literally going to happen on a daily basis, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. So
So
basically, this is like instead of you having to go to these websites, the information is served to you. However, this is still a huge time consumer on a daily basis to do it every day. But
yeah,
it
it's just
still needs to be
impossible.
done. It
Yeah.
still needs to be done every day. So that kind of leads into probably our next topic with what is the next stage of development with this specific feature.
Yeah, let's talk more, elaborate more about the automation. So the reason behind it is, again, you already know at this point that the reason is to notify those leads that were interested at any point of time on that specific unit of mine. But again, let's try to understand, like, okay, so there is an automation. I can lower the price, but what price should I actually price it on? You know, like that's something that I think a lot of dealers will be setting a price at the first day, and they're just going to end up sticking to that price because they just market at that price and hoping that somebody going to come and buy it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or maybe try to lower their price a little bit so they can give them a discount and try to sell it again. I think that's an issue right there. And why
Yeah.
is it? Because you just can't be, again, in the mercy of waiting. The waiting, it's a bad habit of many car dealers. And I think that when you look at this table, as I'm gonna keep moving in here, I'm gonna see more and more units that just came into the market, and in which, again, setting a different bar in a way, like for me as a dealer that owns that unit, and I need to kind of figure out with myself, where do I need to be? And that's very hard. Like even on this unit, like I got 59 vehicles in 500-mile radius that are competing with my unit right there.
Yeah.
That's literally impossible to do mathematically. So now we can talk about, like, okay, so you got all this information, right? of the market and what is in the market and how does it work. And that's all beautiful. But again, do you have the really time to dig deep into every single unit, 59 in that case, and try to figure out where you should be positioning? I mean, honestly, we're not expecting anybody to do that. I don't think it's even possible by any means to do such a thing. And therefore, we came up with the idea to create to turn the price drop automation into a price drop suggestion, in which at that point, what we do is we're getting this entire table data points from the price, the odometer, the aging, the distance from you, and all the rest of the stuff. So the vehicle, for example, exterior color, which is sometimes can really be a small thing that some people might not put attention on, but it could be really a decision making, because if, let's say, it's a red car, let's say, it shouldn't be considered the same as if my vehicle is black, for example, because a lot of people going to buy a black car won't buy a red car, for example. So what we're doing, we're taking all those data points from every single property in here in the table, and we're letting our own model to analyze the data, so we can give you the best price suggestion, if there is any. Okay, again, we're going to talk about it in just a second. But if there is any, you need to be aware of it, and the system will make sure that you're going to be aware of it. It's going to be posted on your action bar, so right on the top of the screen, it will appear as a price drop suggestion for that specific unit, and as well as inside the unit itself. So when you enter to the unit and you see the GMR, right above the GMR, there will be a suggestion as well. So yeah, that's very much like the evolution of price drop automation into a suggestion. And the reason is because a lot of dealers hasn't take action when it comes to the actual automation. Even though it was available, I think that the lack of information and maybe even time too, in a way, did not allow many dealers to really stay on top of those things, and they're losing, especially when you have like 40, 50, 100 vehicles in the lot. It can get messy, and you can really lose yourself around those units.
Yeah. So, back to the AI calculation of this, because everybody has a certain type of formula. Not to go into the formula, the goal is for dealers to really understand and have faith and have belief that, hey, this is ultimately what's going to get the car sold, because it's going to drive attention, and I can really see my car. When you look at it through the customer's eyes, the picture is painted much differently than when we look at it from dealer operational eye. So the more time we spend, or the more AI we have to kind of fill that role, and this is a very good example of leveraging AI in order to think for you, to calculate, or to analyze, forensically analyze for you, hey, here's your competitive set. Because you're not competing with every single dealer in town. You're competing with only the dealers that might have this vehicle in stock. Correct?
Well, in a 500-mile radius, yes.
Depending on the vehicle. If you're looking
it's
at
always the same trim. So every vehicle in this list will technically be the same vehicle as you're having in your lot. It's just a different color, a different price point, different odometer, and has been in the market for X amount of time, which is the aging part, and then wherever it sits. Because let's say if it sits 500 miles, and people might not drive that far, but we believe, based on a lot of data that we have accumulated over the years, we've seen people driving 2 and 3 hours in average in the US to just look at the car, not necessarily buying it, especially when it's like $15,000 and above. They're gonna do that research, deep research, to figure it out.
Because there's another component to all of this. It's the manager component, it's the sales rep component, because we've heard a lot of frustrations from managers and sales reps, which is, hey, I can't get the GM or the lot owner, if it's a independent store, to drop the price. I can't move this car because the price isn't being dropped. So this is definitely going to help in those situations to justify, hey, we need to position here in order to get more eyeballs, more attention on this specific vehicle. Because every single business has limitations. A car dealership, let's talk about an indie lot. You have a limitation of money, time, space, and a million other ones. But whatever, if your car is full, and most of the guys we've been talking to lately, their lots are full. Their lots are packed. There's no more
Yeah.
space, right? So every single car that's on your lot is taking up real estate. And the longer it sits there, as we know, I mean, I'm kind of repeating shit that everybody knows,
Yeah.
right?
But
Our
it's
goal,
good information
we
to
got to
remind people,
turn
you
it.
know?
We got to turn it. So it's absorbing. It has a cost. So if you're going to sit on that, and I remember when we were in the industry, it was always like, okay, let's get this thing out. Let's get some fresh action. Maybe we can make some money on this. But the problem was always like the information was never really validated by anything or anybody. And this is one of those, we talked in another episode about gut feelings. This is a really, really bad place to run a gut feeling when it comes to price
Absolutely.
strategy,
Absolutely.
because you're either increasing your aging, which is preventing you from getting another unit on the lot so you can make more money faster, okay, or you're leaving money on the table.
Well, it's all about rotating, your inventory as fast as you can, right? That's what it
It's
comes down
turned,
to.
unless you have unlimited capital, and there's not a lot of car dealerships right now that have unlimited capital, and even if they do,
Even then,
they don't have
but
unlimited
even
space.
but even then, you still want to rotate as fast as you can, because if you can turn, let's say, 10 grand into like 3 units in the same time that you're doing it today or one, that means that you made 3 times more. Even if you made less, let's say on the margin in each one of the turns, you're still going to make more in the long run. So your goal is very much to rotate as fast as you can. That's kind of how this business, function, how it's shaped in the first place.
Yeah. So what's an ideal annual turn rate? 8x, which is what, 45 days per unit, give or take. I mean,
Um,
it was a while back.
it
I don't know exactly what
it
it is
I
today.
think it depends. It always been depending. It depends on the type of trim we're talking about, right? Because there's certain cars who rotate fast, and there's some who rotate longer because there's not a lot of people who are looking for that unit. But I think the bottom line is, no matter how you look at this, even if the car rotate slow because of low demand, your job is still to make it so it's going to go as fast as you can. And the only way to do that is to be able to look at the market, see what is out there, and act, because if you don't act, you're just sitting on a car, you price it, and you just leave it for itself, you're literally losing. You're losing every
Well,
moment that the car is sitting.
the days are passing. The days are counting. There's no counter that can stop time.
Absolutely.
If you find one, let me know. Whoever's watching, let me know how to stop that.
Totally.
So, okay. So the AI component to this is going to
Yeah.
be basically a suggestion of the sort. Says, hey,
With reasoning. So
with
specifically.
reason, right? So it's going to say, hey, we suggest you should drop this price by X amount. Here's where it's going to position you in the market, and here's exactly why and the
Yeah.
reasoning behind that. And it's up to you to just say yes or no.
Yeah. But the reasoning is very important too, because you see, a lot of car dealers will doubt the suggestion right off the bat. And we understand that. We're okay with you doubting a suggestion that just told you, you know what, you should lower your price by $500, for example. But the reasoning will back itself up. How he does it, it actually uses all the information, as I said before, on the table, or the market, technically,
Mhm.
our GMR report, and it literally express the reasoning. So it tells you, okay, you got you got another dealership that have a similar vehicle in terms of mileage and price, that or let's say it's lower price, and it sits about a couple miles away from you, not too far away from you, and
Mhm.
that's a very good reason why you should lower the price for that unit. And
Mhm.
that reasoning, in my opinion, is very kind of transparent, to not just give you a suggestion, but to actually give you the reasoning behind the scenes why you should do so. And again, there's some situations where, let's say, you might be positioning your price just right and you're very competitive on the
Sure.
price, and maybe you shouldn't be lowering the price, and
Yeah.
therefore the actual balloon, in that case, the price drop suggestion will say, do not lower the price. And that's important to know too, because sometimes we lowering the price where it's not a good timing. Maybe we have a lead that we're talking to in the recent week,
Mhm.
or maybe one of my salespeople talking to somebody, and I'm not aware of that,
Yeah.
let's say,
Yeah.
and that's something that, will literally give you an alert in a way. A, do not, and why, again, going back to the reasoning, is that's why, because you have George, the salespeople, a person in this case, salesperson in this case, which is talking to Mrs. Sarah, right? And Sarah is interested in the vehicle in the last couple of days, and therefore you shouldn't be lowering the price. And that's
Yeah.
something that's another factor that the AI does. So it takes everything in consideration, not just the table, but it takes even your leads and everything that it's sitting in your CRM, in your ecosystem, or our ecosystem technically, that you can leverage into an understanding. And that understanding leads you to make better decisions at a glance,
Yeah.
and that's makes a difference. That's a huge difference for every car dealer, regardless of your size. Either you're a small dealer, you're indie, or you're a big franchise dealer, a group, let's say, that you have on every lot 250 used vehicles, or I don't know, 500 new vehicles. It doesn't really matter, honestly. The
So
bottom line is you're always competing on the price.
but the goal of this table, this is not built for dealers to go in and to crunch
No,
numbers and do math and do analysis
it's for
every day
transparency
on this.
based.
This entire table is built to understand where, at a glance, to understand where you're at. But it is really the foundation of the AI that's going to be coming and taking a lot of different angles which you could not humanly comprehend, which is leads, how recently you talked to this lead, what your price is, because just like the goal is not, the objective is not to drop price. We all hate dropping price because it drops our margin. The goal is to only drop price when there is value. So if you're talking to a lead today, why would you drop the price? It makes no sense. Correct?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so the GMR, the table itself, is for transparency. So if you want to go ahead and trust our data, you have the power to do so. So you can literally go into every vehicle in here and just click
Yeah.
the link and get to see the vehicle very much.
Yeah, and if you want to spend your days doing that, go for it. But what's coming next in the next release is going to be something that's going to think more mathematically and more like a strategist based off real-time market conditions, and help you kind of take those actions every single day if there are actions to be taken.
Yeah, let's compare it to V-Auto really quick, because we're already there. So I mean, why not, right? Minus Will.
Yeah, I haven't used Viato in a very, very long time, but from what I remember, there's a lot of manual tasking to it, and there were two things. There was price rank, which is very kind of general, like selecting one of these columns and saying, hey, where do I position in price? And then there was another thing called something rank, I think V rank is what it was called.
Okay.
And that was, from my understanding, a proprietary algorithm back then. So it was basically V-Auto saying, hey, based off these different signals, we're saying that you should drop the price to this. Where I saw the disconnect is with all of these proprietary algorithms, and this was a while ago. You go to auction, you're like, okay, I need to be at this price for this car. I go to auction and I'm supposed to buy it for this amount, and it always sells for 5, 10, sometimes 20% more. It's saying, hey, buy this car for 25K. The car sells for 28K. You're like, oh, I missed that one. And then it happens on the next 50 cars. And you're like, okay, something with this algo is definitely off. So with what we have today on an AI side, I believe that all of these algorithms, pricing strategy algorithms, were originally written by human calculations that are not as adjustable and as dynamic as AI allows us to be today. And it was a product for people who had the money to spend. So I guess what we're doing here, and this, this is something that every dealer is going to have, and it's going to be included, in the accounts, the baseline of it, because there's a lot of mixed up strategy out there.
Definitely.
And we're hoping that we can kind of make some inroads to that. And, the one more thing, just to touch on this, there are a lot of general topics and general things that we can talk about. And out of 50 dealers, you're going to have 50 hacks. Every dealer's got their own little, we talked about this last week, they've got their own little superpower where like, hey, I figured out this hack and I'm really good at this little thing. And this guy's got something else. This guy's got something else. So, as we build these things, like every single one of these things has to ultimately be a proven way to do something really, really, really good. And it has to benefit the business and it has to fill a need. And that is a process. And this is the fun of the process is that we're going through it, because we're talking about something that's, the AI component that I believe is coming next week. So it's not even here yet. We can't even show it.
Definitely.
So I hope we get to show that next week. I'm really excited about that because
same.
Ellie, this really ties into what we were talking about last week. It's like everybody is positioning AI to replace the human in conversation and to do all of these things, when AI should really be leveraged for tasks like this, tasks to help you operate your business as a $500,000 a year analyst could, and and to enable salespeople what they do best, because they need to sell.
Yeah.
And I guess this is one way to look at it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the V Auto, I want to just elaborate on this one really quick. And so the V Auto, to me, from a very tech savvy guy, seems to be very forensic and extremely like heavy, because there's so many numbers, there's so many tools and metrics and try to understand, go and try to understand every single one of those data points and how their tool is actually calculating it and why is it calculating it the way it's calculating it. I think that's a problem too, and that creates an issue for someone who does not have the time to look into these things and try to study them, because you got to study Vauto. You can't just go into Vauto or a tool like Vauto and try to kind of
plug and play it,
get the benefit like the first day that you're using it, And in our case, it's not the case, right? Because in our case, you don't have to do mathematics. You don't have to worry about anything. You just need to read like a human being. You need to read what the suggestion is, either to lower the price, and what's the reason behind it, and making it very, very humanish to just be able to operate like regular people, and not to go to forensics where it's not needed.
Totally. So we're bringing it to you to say yes or no, not to have another job of analyzing it. And
that's right.
That also touches on the thing we spoke about last week, which is what good is software if people don't use it? Like,
that's right.
A CRM example. This is a really good example, because so many CRMs fail because they're just too complicated to use and reps don't want to use them.
Yeah, let's talk specifically on the Vauto, because you said to me yesterday, you said, I want to go back to Vauto again and express how Vauto was to you as a car dealer. And I'm considering you like super tech savvy, and you were still not making so many decisions when using Vauto in a way, because you had the Vauto, you paid for that, but you didn't really use all the all the stuff that came with that in a way.
Yeah.
So can you express it?
I mean, it wasn't cheap, and this was a while ago. This was I don't know the price today. I do remember getting a 24 bottle like package of some really cool like root beer or something. That was nice of them, but that didn't. I don't mind, and I'm super tech. I do not mind spending a lot of time on something initially if it will give me golden nuggets. That's how I look at it. And when I say initially, that means until I figure it out and until it can run on its own. And it wasn't something that could really run on its own in the background without me. It was a labor of love in a way that I would spend a lot of time researching and bookmarking and saving vehicles. And I was focused more on the acquisition side of Vauto, because I didn't really use their pricing tool as much, just because I didn't really trust the data as much, and maybe this is back then.
Can you tell me why you didn't trust the data?
I didn't know why. I didn't know. I felt like there was a disconnect between what I was being told,, I, I felt like there was a disconnect between what I was being told, I should buy at auction, versus what I was being told, I should buy, at retail. And I didn't know why. I felt like there was a disconnect between what I was being told, I should buy at auction, versus what I was being told, I should buy at retail. And I didn't know why. I felt like there was a disconnect between what I was being told, I should market on price. Because you can't tell me, I don't care what software it is. If it lives within the same software, you can't say, hey, you need to buy this car at 28 grand so you can sell it at 33 grand, let's say, right? But there's no way I can get it at 28 grand at the auction because they're running for 31.5.
Totally. Yeah,
That's
makes no sense.
that's a fundamental problem.
That's
So I had to choose like, okay, sure, the market has fluctuations. We get it.
What did you end up doing? Did you go buy MMR? You went back to MMR?
Well, no, because look, MMR, even, especially recently, MMR is, I bought a car 2.5 months ago and I got it from a franchise dealer for 15K back of MMR.
Definitely.
Explain this to me.
Yeah, it's impossible to
Okay.
understand it,
So
honestly.
MMR to me makes 0 sense. It makes sense
Yeah.
for wholesalers. If I was operating today, I would definitely look at MMR as if it was a hybrid retail channel.
But we can say why, right? Like, let's not skip that part. The reason why you got it, at such a good price, it was a good price. Let's put it this way. It was because there were other trims similar to that trim that was at that moment of time in the market, which that dealer understands it, sees it, and he was like, you know what? I need to make a sale today. I gotta do something about it. So they saw it, they dropped the price, and that's how you got a good deal. So technically, that dealer, in a way, didn't really look at MMR, right? I mean, clearly, even if he did look at MMR, what does it matter if there is another unit not too far away that trying to sell for a lot less?
Yeah,
you
but
got to be competitive, right?
sure. There's always that component of what are you in it for? So if you're in it, if you're still going to make a really nice cut, people will leave money on the table
That's sure.
in order to let me get it now, let me flip it. And that's kind of like on a dealer to dealer, for them to make. Like if I was making 25K on a car versus 28K on a car in order to save 30 days of turn, yeah, I take a 3K loss, no problem. 15?
Totally.
But that's where it gets really complex. And it's like for people giving dealer advice, the gurus, it's like every single dealership is so fucking unique and so complex. And there are so many different types of limitations. You have marketing, you have budget, you have credit lines, you have capital, you have space, you have employees, you have connections. You have how techish you are. Everybody, you cannot take a playbook to every single dealer the same way. There's just no fucking way that you can't do it. It doesn't exist.
Yeah,
it's like a shrink talking to everybody with the same playbook. It doesn't work that way, and because everybody has their own little thing that they're super, super good at, For me, it was consignments. I love consignments and I love to build relationships with people, and have them come in and say, hey, relationships for me was relationships. For some guys, it's like, hey, best price, fastest turn. Cool. Whatever that is for you, you need to run that strategy your way, but you need to know where the market is. You have to know where the market is because it's changing.
It's changing daily,
daily. And it's changing beyond our control, right? So interest rates change, everything changes. Let's go. I remember conversations back in COVID. We're getting way off topic here. I remember convos back in COVID. Dealers are saying, man, I can't get inventory. Holy shit, I can't get inventory. I got all the leads in the world, can't get inventory.
Yeah.
I got 100 leads a day coming in, can't get inventory. Right. That sucks. I'm saying, yeah, but wait a minute. You're making 3, 4, 5x profit margin on those cars. He goes, yeah, but I can't sell enough of them. I said, but you're making more money than you did before. He goes, yeah, but I need to get more cars. I said, okay, would you trade this situation for that situation? They're like, absolutely not. I said, great. What's the problem? You're working less. You got less cars to recon, less cars to buy. You're making 5x the volume. Fantastic. Now we're in a completely different place where cars are still expensive. Okay. Interest rates are super high. You've got people that are upside down, underwater on their cars, 10, 15K, 20K, because they bought them at COVID prices.
Oh, yeah.
But their interest rate is 2.99. Right. So to get in a new car, they're going to have to roll 15,000 of negative equity and trade that interest rate for 10%. I mean, it's difficult right now. It's difficult.
It is.
Whoever says like, oh, This is the opportunity. There are opportunities, but it's still
Always
fucking
there's
hard,
opportunities for sure. Yeah.
you know? But what are the things that we can do today? Not hypothetically, not watching a podcast and saying, wow, that's the power of positive thinking. No, fuck positive thinking. Let's focus on positive actions day
That's
in
right,
and
actions.
day out. And let's focus on minor victories that could bring us more golden nuggets, because this shit will pass. It always passes.
Yeah.
You know? And our job
Yes.
today is to figure out how to create systems that we can scale when things get back to good. And in the process of that, things might get really, really good. Sorry, guys, I'm getting all like motivational here.
Nah, it's good. I love it.
Yeah.
I think you're right about everything you said. I think that we're in a time where we definitely need to make adjustments. Each one of us, we got to make adjustments. As a software company, we're making adjustments, and the dealers needs to make adjustments too. But going back into the GMR and the table in here, which intend again to create a transparency to car dealers so they can see the market as it is. In some situations, the people who have access to these tables, to the GMR in this case, and the data, even though it's updated on a daily basis, they're not the decision makers.
Right.
So there are two ways to look at this, and I want to kind of talk about that really quick. One way is if I am, let's say, someone who is in the dealership, but I'm not a decision maker to drop the price on this vehicle or not. I can either print this entire, transparent table, which will allow me again to show it to my owner or whoever is in charge of dropping the price, which it's one way to do it so they can start trusting the suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And another way is to wait for that weekly technically reports, which the system generates and will appear on the action bar, in which at that point it kind of express your entire inventory and which ones you should be putting your attention on. So in that case, you can get a PDF, which can be delivered either by email or shared via WhatsApp or whatever, however you're communicating to your guy of those the decision maker, right? In this case, and you can help them to see the transparency too, because again, some of those people are not really entering into our backend. They don't get to see this data as much, so it's not expected from them to kind of believe in it fully or
Yeah.
believe in us or believe in that or whatever, and we're not expecting that to happen right off the bat. So, and therefore we creating all those kind of like ways, and we will continue creating ways for you to be able to deliver it to the decision maker in such an easy way, so it will help you from a salesperson perspective to make those movements when it matters the most.
Yeah. Or even maybe a negotiation. Maybe
Definitely, it's
maybe
all
have like a
negotiation.
list of all of your inventory with weekly suggestions you can take to the GM or to the owner. It's like, hey, what do you think about this? And just boom, get on it. Daily
Yeah, for
actions,
sure.
daily actions, daily
And
actions.
again, those reasoning that we talked about earlier will appear in each one of those units, on even on the report level, in which at that point you get to understand, okay, this is the reasoning behind. So when you read the reasoning, there's no way in the world, whoever you are, you can't doubt it. There's no way to doubt that reasoning. Is very solid ground for you to say, okay, you know what, it is what it is, we got to drop the price.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference, in many, many cases.
Yeah, if you want to take it even deeper, and if you want to validate it yourself, without adding additional marketing to it, check your VDPs. If you're getting more traffic on that vehicle, if you're getting more leads on that vehicle based off the actions you took, and you'll see that you most likely are.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
cool. This is exciting. I can't wait for the AI component to come out and everything else that's kind of cooking at the same time. There are a lot of things cooking at the same time.
Definitely. Just to mention one more thing, couple more things, really quick one. So we can see in here that this has been updated 33 minutes ago, but I can always come here and I can say, you know what, click this one, refresh it, and I'm going to get fresh data, literally like at the glance. So as long as you have the Advantage, which is a package service that we are offering to car dealers, which comes with all the AI stuff, so you can literally communicate to people instantly, have an autoresponder, generating of a description with AI, so your description would look very comprehensive and not just take the data that we already know about the vehicle, but even like data from outside, that scope of data, because the AI knows a lot more in today, data. So we have that feature. We have the instant suggestions. We got, which is like on the messenger. So I want to show it really quick because we're already
Show me, but
there.
don't sell me.
Yeah, for sure. I won't sell you. I'm gonna do my best not to.
Uh,
So if you look at that, you're gonna see instant suggestion right there. The lead was writing certain things. So here is kind of like a suggestion.
that
There's
that's
the link. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. Let me look it into another one, because I think most of these leads are responded already. But here we can look at another one. This is not a good example. Let me see, because you see the problem is that most of those has been responded already. So I'm not going to be able to show a one. But yeah, we can see technically we have the automations, which is the instant suggestions that I just showed a second ago. It comes with the coach as well, so you can kind of create re-engagement messages based on the team tone. You can do all kinds of different things, so you can kind of re-engage with with team in this case. So there's a lot of great tools that comes with the AI.
I think
The
I think we
yeah,
should totally do a CRM breakdown video on how the CRM works and how it
definitely,
functions and get
definitely.
into depth
I
on
think
that.
yeah, there's a lot of videos that we can probably
Yeah.
create on every single module in here, not just the CRM. The CRM as a whole became very comprehensive at this point, even though it's not require you to be a tech
Yeah.
savvy in a way. But yeah, we should make definitely separate videos for every single section. Maybe for the automations as a whole, even though we do have a lot of videos out there already about it, we should show it again, because we have developed so many things. We have
Yeah,
changed.
totally. Totally.
There's been a lot of innovation in the last, I will say, 6 months, and it's going to continue going forward with more innovation when it comes to automations and stuff like that. Because we seeing data, we're seeing how it influence the dealers and the deals that they're trying to make, and so we're innovating at all
Yeah,
times.
but we're also catching ourselves like we're having these conversations with dealers every week and showing new features, and our beta dealers that are testing out new features, and then we catch things. We're like, wait a minute, why aren't you using this? And they're like, oh, I didn't even know it existed. Like,
Definitely.
yeah, check this out. They're like, oh my god, when did you launch this? We're like 2 years ago. They're like, no shit. So I think it's important to kind of dive into these things. And
Well, it's important to stay connected to us and be able to listen and be able to subscribe as well, and
yeah,
be able to see
yeah,
what
yeah,
we're doing in here, because that's what this is all about.
yeah.
That's
And
what we're trying to do. We're opening our doors for everybody to see, and we're talking about it as we're
totally.
developing it. So that's, I
And we
think,
want
what
the
sets us
feedback.
apart.
This and we're so fucking tired of ads and marketing gimmicks
Totally.
in different
Yeah.
angles. And hey, car
I think all
dealers,
dealers do.
we
I think
can't.
all dealers do.
Yeah,
Not we.
everyone's
I
tired
think
of it.
dealers do.
It's
Yeah.
like, hey, there's a new car dealer AI. Yeah, we don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why it is how it is. Let's talk about what's right. Let's talk about what's wrong. Give us feedback.
Absolutely.
We want to hear it, because this, as much as this is about car dealers, it's also about us and how we're building out a product that we've been working on for the last 13 years.
Absolutely.
And having fun doing it. So
And continue doing it.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah, yeah. And this is just a documentation of it. So,
That's right.
anyways, fun video.
Yeah,
I think.
I had a good time with you. Thank you for your
Yeah, that
time.
was fun. That was fun, and
It
I
was a
can't
lot of
wait
fun.
for the next one. I think I think that the AI is going to be out. So, get y'all later. If you haven't
Yeah,
subscribed,
sure.
do it later.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.